all about Express Pass at Universal Orlando. This is Go Inform Podcast, episode 33. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's episode 33, and today we're talking about Express Pass at Universal Orlando. My name is Maven. I'm the hostess here on the show, and I just want to thank you guys for joining me on this episode. Episode 33. 33 is a big number here at Go Informed because when I first started the blog, goinformed.net, the first real post I ever put up there was called 33 Things to Know Before You Visit Universal Orlando. And that was the thing that compelled me to start a blog and now a podcast. It was just, I just wanted you guys to know the stuff that I had learned about Universal Orlando. And I'm so excited to know that a lot of people are still reading that post and finding me through it. And so here we are at episode 33 of the podcast. And I don't know, just seems auspicious. Okay. So anyway, I want to especially thank those of you guys who have joined our Go Inform Pass Holders community. You guys are the sponsors of this show and supporters of everything that's going on here at Go Informed, and I really, really appreciate it. And I want to give a really special shout out to Lori, who was our very first Go Inform Pass holder. So hooray for you, Lori. Thank you for your support. And it's so cool to get to know you a little bit better through our Facebook group. And anyway, this is for you, Lori. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. And for all the rest of you guys who have joined too, I really, really appreciate it. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can go over to goinform.net/passholders and find out how you can join our community and what it's all about and all of that. And I'll put a link in the show notes about it too. So if you want to find out. Oh, and those show notes are going to be over at goinform.net/33. All right. So speaking of things to know before you visit Universal Orlando, Express Pass is a big thing to know about. And since it's the 33rd episode, it just seemed like a perfect time to really dive into what an Express Pass is, why you might want to have one, how you get it, and how it works. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. So an Express Pass is an extra ticket that you can get that allows you to skip the regular line at the rides at Universal. And it's a special program that they offer to anybody in the parks. It is extra beyond your park ticket. So you don't get this just because you have a park ticket. This is an extra thing. The Express Pass is kind of a magic ticket, because when you have an Express Pass, you're going to be able to get on the ride so much faster. You're going to have a much more efficient day because you're not going to be waiting in lines as long. And you're just going to have more flexibility and freedom to decide what to do during the day, because the crowd levels and the wait times are not going to be such a big factor for you. An Express Pass is a really, really powerful tool at Universal, and something that I really think everybody should find out about and consider using, because especially if you have a short trip, if you're only going to be there for a day or two, an Express Pass is going to really do just that. It's an express. It gives you an express line entry into the rides and can really speed up your trip and get you out of those long lines. So let's talk about how it works and how you get it. So when you go to Universal and you go to get on a ride, almost every single ride is going to have a separate entrance for Express Pass people. You're going to have just the regular entry, and then you're going to see one that says Express Pass. And this includes like every ride. The only rides that aren't included, at least as of this recording, are things that don't need an Express Pass because no one really rides them. So even the big headliner Harry Potter rides have Express Pass entrances. Even the big roller coasters have this. Like anything that's going to have a long line sometime during the day, you're going to get an Express Pass entrance for. So it's very inclusive. It's going to cover pretty much all of the parks. Even Volcano Bay has Express Pass. So Universal's done a really good job of making this available for almost anything that you would want to ride. And Express Pass, for you guys who are familiar with Fast Passes over at Disney, Express Passes are similar. In one way they're similar is that there is a different way that you go into the ride with an Express Pass than with the regular standby queue. And that's the same with Disney, where they have a Fast Pass queue and a standby queue. So Express Pass is a little bit like Fast Pass at Disney, but there's some big differences. And so I'm going to be talking about that as we go through today. But one of the biggest differences is that you don't have to make a reservation or have a specific time to get on a ride using Express Pass. So Fast Pass, you have to have a time. They give you a time to use your Fast Pass for each attraction. But here at Universal, you can use the Express Pass any time of day to get on a ride. So you don't have limitations around your schedule, and you don't have to plan ahead like that, which is really nice, I think. So there's two kinds of Express Passes that you can get at Universal. There's an unlimited Express Pass, which literally allows you to go through the Express Pass line as many times as you want, anytime you want, on anything that has Express Pass, as many times during the day as you want to. So if you have an unlimited Express Pass in your hand, you have a ticket to the front of the line on almost anything at Universal at almost, whenever you want to use it. And so that is kind of the ultimate way to, besides having like a VIP tour, an unlimited Express Pass is kind of like the ultimate way to see the parks at Universal. Now, Universal also sells a basic Express Pass that's limited to one entry per ride per day. So you can still use it on every ride that has Express Pass, but you can only use it once per day at each of the rides. So that's a little bit different. And that is definitely different from the Fast Pass system that they have over at Disney, because they limit you to how many Fast Passes you can use per day. And they also put limitations on the rides that you can book them on, and it's a lot more limited. If you have even a limited Express Pass at Universal, you can use it on, every ride if you want. So that's a lot more flexible and a lot more powerful and efficient for your touring. Okay, so I know you guys are like, all right, but how does this work? Like, how are they offering this and how do I get this? And well, you need to know that an Express Pass is an extra thing. So the way that you're going to get an Express Pass, you can buy an Express Pass, or you can get an Express Pass if you stay in one of 3 hotels on site at Universal. And, if you're thinking, I don't want to pay extra for any of this and, one more thing and whatever, I still encourage you to listen, because there's ways to make this work that's more feasible and more economical than just walking up to the gate and buying a ticket. But it also may make sense for you just to walk up to the gate and buy an express pass. So let me tell you kind of what the options are and how they work and how much it costs and all of that stuff. Okay, so if you're going to buy an express pass, you can buy your express pass online on the Universal website, or you can buy it at the park. You can even buy it in the park if you want. If you get in there and you're like, oh my gosh, these lines are super long and we don't have time and I just want to buy an express pass, that is an option to you. So they make it available in a lot of ways, and it's pretty easy to pick one up. Now, the way that they are priced is pretty smart on the part of Universal, because what they do is they vary the pricing on the express passes based on how many people they expect to be in the park that day. So if you go at a really, really low crowd day, then an express pass is going to cost a lot less than if you go on a super, super high crowd day. So the range of price, everybody sit down now so I can tell you. So this is for an express pass that's good for 2 parks. I really think that it makes sense to have a ticket that's good for both Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida. And I think if you're doing that, then you have to get an express pass that's good for both parks too. It's just slightly less if you get the ticket or the express pass for just one park. And I think, if you're already going down this road, it's just a little more to have it cover both parks. So that's the pricing that I'm going to be telling you guys. Also, just know this is the price as of right now. This is August of 2018. Universal, obviously, they're going to change their prices a lot all the time. I have no control over that. So what I'm saying is just a snapshot. Please make sure that you check my facts by going onto the Universal site and find out for yourself what the current pricing is. Okay, enough of suspense. The price for a totally low crowd day is going to be something like $80 a day for an express pass. That is for a limited express pass that just gets you into one ride using the pass per day. So that's about $80 a person a day. If you buy the unlimited express pass on a very low crowd day, that's going to be about $100 a person per pass per day. So this isn't cheap. I mean, your park ticket isn't that much more than that. So, you're almost doubling the cost of your park ticket. So Universal is definitely raking it in by offering this. And so you really have to think about, is it worth it for you to pay for that in order to have more time to do your touring in the park? And, you guys, the thing is that in our experience, the Express Pass, it saves you so much time. It's like if a ride has a 45-minute wait and you go on the Express Pass line, you're going to be on that ride in 10 minutes or less. If the ride has 90-minute wait, maybe it'll take you 15 or 20 minutes in Express line, but it is so much faster. I mean, it's 3 or 4 times faster than waiting in the long lines. And so you can think about how much more you can accomplish when you can just walk up to a ride, get on, enjoy it, and then get off. And if you have an unlimited pass and you want to ride something 25 times in the same day, you could do it, because even at the highest peak day, you're still not going to be waiting very long in line for that attraction. You're going to be on and off it multiple times before you would have even got on it once, not having an express pass. So it is super valuable if you're kind of a power tourer or if you don't like lines. And it really, really can make your day so much better. But it costs money. So we have to talk about that. Now, on a peak day, I looked up the price that they're quoting right now for an express pass on Christmas Eve, which is probably one of the busiest days of the year. And the price was $140 per person per ticket for a limited express pass and $170 for an unlimited pass. So it is, there's a big range depending on how crowded the park might be. And I'll tell you what, though, if you're going on Christmas Eve, you might actually want to pay $170 so that you could ride something, because I have a feeling you would be in long, long lines all day long, no matter what. So maybe it's worth it for you. And you might be asking, like, well, is there any limit to how many of these express passes that Universal distributes every day? Like, if it's a busy day, are they just going to keep selling more and more and more? And then the line in the express pass is going to get really long. And the answer to that is they do limit how many they sell. They will sell out and keep it limited. So that way you still get value for your pass and you don't just have, a whole bunch more people in that express pass line. So that's part of the thing with their variable pricing. I think that's the way that they capture the demand. You guys, I majored in economics in college. So supply and demand is like my brain functions that way. And this is just a pure supply and demand sort of thing. So if it's going to be a really busy day, they hold the supply back, so they'll sell it out, but the demand's high, so they charge more. So that's just the way it works over at Universal. But there is hope, you guys, because there are ways that you can avoid paying $170 per person per day to get an unlimited express pass for the parks. And a couple of ways that you can avoid paying that kind of price for your passes. The first one is that Universal does discount these passes sometimes. They will sometimes do an offer where it's like buy 2 days worth of express pass and get 2 days for free. So they'll do bundles like that. And the way to keep an eye on that is to watch the Universal website, or if you have a travel agent, that's the kind of thing a travel agent can probably call to your attention. You don't have to buy your express pass right when you buy your park ticket or right when you book your trip. Like I said, you can even buy one at the gate. So you can wait to see if they go on sale or if there's some kind of deal, and then purchase it for your trip. So keep it in mind as maybe an optional thing, and then just watch the website and see if you can get lucky, and maybe they'll discount it for your dates. If you're going at Christmas, though, I wouldn't expect that. I have a feeling that they have no trouble selling them out at that time, so they'll be full price. Okay, but the other way that you can get an unlimited express pass, as I already mentioned, is to stay in one of the Express Pass hotels on site at Universal. And this is what I recommend. This is how we tour at Universal, and it is by far the most efficient way to take care of a lot of things. First of all, you're staying on site, so you are right next to the park, which is super convenient. On-site hotel guests get early admission into the parks. So not only are you going to get the express pass, but you're also going to get early access, an hour of very low crowds in the parks before everybody else gets there. And you get an unlimited express pass. And you don't just get one unlimited express pass per room. Everybody in your room gets an unlimited express pass, up to 4 people per room. I guess they just want people to stay in those hotels, because this is like basically they're giving these away. And I'm going to actually hit you with some numbers here in a second to kind of illustrate that. But it is a really, really great thing that you can get if you stay in these hotels. So Universal has 6 hotels on site. They're actually still building some more. So they have a lot of hotels that are considered on-site hotels there, but only 3 of them offer the Express Pass. So when we're talking about it for the purposes of, getting an Express Pass, the hotels that you want to look at are the Hard Rock Hotel, the Portofino Bay Hotel, and the Royal Pacific Hotel. Those are the 3 as of right now. Again, this could change, but right now in August 2018, that's where you can stay to get unlimited Express Passes. Now, these hotels are not cheap. And again, we're going to talk about the prices here in a second. But when you consider what you get, the value you're going to get from these Express Passes, it can really make a ton of sense to stay there. One of the other things to keep in mind, besides the fact that you can get up to 4 Express Passes per room, the Express Passes are given to you for every day of your stay. So if you only stay one night, you're going to get 2 days worth of Express Passes. Okay, so the day you check in is going to be an Express Pass for you, and the day you check out is an Express Pass for you. So one night gives you 2 Express Passes per person, 2 days worth of Express Passes per person. So this can really, really add up quickly in terms of the value that you're going to get by staying in the hotel. So I'm going to put this all in the show notes so you guys don't have to do a bunch of math in your head, but I do want to give you some numbers to illustrate this. But again, if you want to take a look at the show notes, I will put links to the hotels there. I will put probably kind of a little spreadsheet or something that shows what I'm going to talk about here with these numbers. The show notes are at goinformed.net/33, or just on your podcast app. You should see a link there, and you can hop over and get all of this right over there on the website. Okay, so let's just talk about kind of the cost of the hotel versus the value of the Express Passes. Okay, so again, you guys, this is just an example. This is not guaranteed prices or anything like that. This is just what I'm seeing today, looking on the website as a quick example of what the cost can be. All right, so what I did is I looked up a date a few weeks from now. It's a moderate crowd level day. The Express Passes are priced at $150 per person per day. And I looked at that date to see what a room would cost in one of these Express Pass hotels to see, kind of how it adds up. And what I did is I went on and I looked at all 3 of the Express Pass hotels, and I picked the one that was the least expensive for that date. And for that date, it happened to be the Portofino Bay Hotel. But I can tell you that it's really random. Sometimes it'll be that one, sometimes Hard Rock, sometimes Royal Pacific. So be sure to check all 3. To see which one's least expensive if you don't have a preference on the hotel. So on that date, Express Passes, $150 per day per person. The hotel room costs $352 a night. So if you have one person in your hotel room, if it's just you and you want to spend that night there, it's going to cost you about $350 for the night, and you're going to get an Express Pass for the day you check in and for the day you check out, which are each worth $150. So easy math, that's about $300 worth of Express Passes that you're getting when you stay in that hotel. So if there's 2 people in your room, then that's 2 days, 2 Express Passes per person. So that's a total of 4 Express Passes at $150 each, which is $600, but you paid $352 for your room. Okay? If you have 3 people, then it's a total of 6 Express Passes over those 2 days. That's worth $900, but your room costs $352. So you can see the power of this and the value of staying on site if express passes are something you want. And, honestly, even express passes aren't a high priority for you. It's still going to cost you something to stay somewhere in Orlando. And obviously, you can spend a lot less than $350 a night. But if you want to stay on site at Universal, just for example, I did look to see how much it was to stay in Cabana Bay that same time. And Cabana Bay is on site, but it does not offer the express passes. And it was about $225 for the same night. So we're talking about an extra $125 to bump yourself up into the luxurious Portofino Bay. By the way, these hotels are really nice, and get the express passes. So this is just one of those things where you need to do your own math. You need to decide if it makes sense to you, but it can really, really, really make sense to stay on site and get those express passes with your room. Okay, but let's look at, what it looks like if you stay on a really busy time where the express passes are a lot more expensive, and you would assume the hotel is a lot more expensive too. So again, this is looking way in advance. I looked at if you stayed at Christmas, and I'm sure that if you were 2 weeks ahead of Christmas and you looked at the price for the hotel, it would be a lot higher than this. So, there's a lot of strategies with how to get the best deal on your hotel. And one of them is book early. I'm sure there are times when these hotel rooms cost more than this, but just to give you an idea again, if you stayed there literally on Christmas Eve, the cheapest hotel on site that I'm seeing right now is the Royal Pacific Hotel, and it was about $480 a night. And the express passes at that time would cost you $170 a person per day. So if you had one person in your room, then you'd be getting $340 worth of express passes. That's less than what you're paying for the room rate, so probably doesn't make sense or may not. But if you have two people in the room, now all of a sudden your express pass value is higher than what you're paying for the room, because two people for 2 days express passes at the Christmas Eve price, that would have cost you out of pocket $680. And it just goes crazy from there. If you have 3 people and you want to buy express passes for 2 days at Christmas, that's going to be over $1,000. And you can stay in that hotel for under $500. So I think you guys are getting the picture here that staying in those hotels is just, that's the way to get your express passes. And you really do only have to stay one night. And if you do that, and you really want to max out what your experience is with your express passes, you can show up at the hotel before the park opens on that check-in day, and you can go to the hotel at like 7 a.m. and check in. They won't have a room ready for you or anything, but they will give you your room key, which is your express pass, and you can leave your luggage and you can go into the park for the whole day and use that express pass. And same with your checkout day. You can go to the park during the day and leave your luggage there and check out of the hotel and use that express pass until the park closes. And there's no limits on it like that. So you really can use a one-night stay in these hotels as a really good way to maximize your touring at Universal Orlando. For me personally, I would recommend, we've done that before where we've just stayed one night and we did exactly what I just described. But I prefer to stay 2 nights because then we get 2 mornings worth of early admission time. And it's just plain less stressful because you're not packing and unpacking like right now. But if you are staying somewhere else, like if you have a house booked for the week or a condo or something where you had to book for a whole week, but you got a really good deal on it, and in the middle of the week, you're planning to go to Universal, you might seriously want to consider spending one night out of your week at Universal just to get the Express Pass. So think a little bit outside of the box, you guys, because this is the way that you can really maximize your time in Orlando. And I know you're going to enjoy the parks better if you're not stuck in standing in a line all day long. So do consider that that's an option. You can always just leave most of your stuff at that condo, go spend the night at the Portofino Bay, have a great time, and then just go back to the condo, that day that you check out. So think outside the box and consider that as a possibility. And definitely, if you're thinking about buying express passes, this is a time to really think about staying on site, because if you're paying per night for a room somewhere else and you have to buy express passes, then you might as well take one of your hotel nights and have it at Universal instead. Because as you can see, the money that you would have spent for those express passes, that can pay for your hotel. So that's another way that you could modify your plans to include this stay. So you can get those unlimited express passes. All right. Well, now that I've sold a whole bunch of hotel rooms at Universal, how about if we talk a little bit more about the logistics about using the express passes and what to expect when you're in the park and all of that stuff. So the first thing to know is that if you buy an express pass, then you're going to get that at the gate when you buy it, or at the inside the park. If you buy it in the park, they're going to give you a pass. If you buy it online, they will probably email you a voucher that you'll have to redeem at will call when you get to the park. Universal has some kiosks, and usually stuff like this, it's sort of like an ATM. You can go and scan your confirmation and it'll spit out your pass. So you shouldn't have to wait in a big line to pick it up. But anyway, there is a physical pass. I guess that's the main thing I want to tell you. If you're staying in the hotel, and an Express Pass hotel, your room key will actually be your Express Pass. And the passes say your name. They say the dates that they are valid for. The hotel room key is also your admission for early admission into the parks. So they've kind of just rolled it all into one thing. And so this is your Express Pass that you're going to show when you get to a ride and you want to go in the Express Pass line. The attendants, there's going to be pretty much every ride, there's going to be an attendant at the front of the Express Pass line, and they're going to want to see your pass. So sometimes they will scan it. They'll have an electronic, like a barcode scanner, and they will scan it right then when you're going into the ride. And sometimes they'll just look at your pass. They'll be looking for the date to make sure it's valid. And then they'll send you into the Express Pass queue. At some point, though, whether it's right when you get to the front of the line or somewhere along the way to before you load onto the ride, there will be someone who will scan your card with the barcode scanner, and there will be a camera that you need to look in for a couple seconds, which is a facial recognition camera. And this is how they make sure that your Express Pass or your room key goes with your face. So you can't transfer your pass to someone else. And this apparently they've had a lot of trouble with fraud and all of that. And so this is how they're cracking down on it. So everybody who has an Express Pass needs to bring their Express Pass, because they're not going to let you use that line unless you have it in your hand and it is valid. Now, the Express Pass lines at the rides, it really depends on the ride. Some of them, it's going to be a much shorter route to get to the front of the to the loading spot on the ride, and you're going to bypass a lot of the most of these rides in the queues, they have like some kind of story going on as you're waiting in line, and you're sort of learning more about what the ride, what's going to happen in the ride. And for the Express Pass line, on some of the rides, you just don't get very much of that. You're gonna miss some of it. On the Harry Potter rides, where I have to say that actually the line for the ride is really cool. If you have Express Pass, you're not going to miss any of that. You will still, in the Forbidden Journey ride, which is inside Hogwarts Castle, you will still get to see Dumbledore. You will still see the Sorting Hat. You will still see all of the same stuff that is cool about that line that everybody else is going to see. What you're not going to see is the garden that you may have to stand in for half an hour. If you're in the regular line, you're going to be able to just skip right past that. You're just going to go straight through the castle. In the Escape from Gringotts ride, the lobby of Gringotts Bank is so amazing. And you guys, if you haven't listened to my tour of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter yet, you got to go back and listen to that. That's episode 5 of the podcast. And I talk all about all this kind of cool stuff that's in the Wizarding World. But anyway, the Gringotts lobby is just incredible. And the Express Pass line, it just puts you straight into that lobby, where if you're in the regular line, you're going to be winding around in just nowhere's land for a long time, most of the time, before you get there. So you're still going to get to see lots of cool stuff, even if you have an Express Pass. And you're going to get to see it more if you have an unlimited pass, because you can just go right in and check out that Gringotts lobby and go up to the front of the line and go on the ride and turn around and come back and do it over and over if you want. So Express Pass, it is a different queue, but still, like, you're still going to see cool stuff. Another tip that I have for you guys is if you are using Express Pass, when you get to the parks, buy yourself a lanyard with a clear pouch that'll hold your card in it. And you can put your park ticket in there, and you can put your Express Pass in there. And that way it'll be just right there around your neck, so that when you walk up to the person at the front of the line and they want to see your pass, you can just hold it up for them. And you don't have to try to remember which pocket it's in, and you don't have to worry about losing it, which is really important. So get one of those lanyards and wear that through the park, and it just makes it more convenient. You can keep those lanyards on even on the rides that have metal detectors, that, they don't want you to have change in your pocket, like on the Hulk roller coaster, for example. They will let you still have your lanyard with your pass on it. So you can use it like for all the rides, and then just tuck it in your shirt before you get on the roller coaster so you don't lose it. That's important too. And one other crucial piece of information, at least for some of you guys, Express Pass even works during the early admission hour at the parks. So if you are taking advantage, and of course, if you're staying in one of the hotels, I really recommend you do take advantage of that extra early admission hour. You can use Express Pass. They open those lines up right away. Again, this is a little different from at Disney. They don't usually have Fast Pass access during their early morning extra magic hours. But at Universal, Express Pass is operating from the time the park opens, even for early admission. So it's kind of like you have the ride to yourself. If you show up early, you're literally are just going to be walking on to the ride. Like, there's not going to be anyone in front of you if you have an Express Pass. So it's pretty amazing. And early admission, you guys most of probably already know, I really recommend taking advantage of it, even with Express Pass. If you want tips about that, go back. I've got a couple episodes here not too long ago about early admission at both of the parks. And I really recommend you look at doing that as well if you have that opportunity. And so I guess you can tell that I think it's worth getting an Express Pass. But, would I pay $170 for a day? I'm not so sure about that. I really like using the hotel as the way to get the pass. We have to stay somewhere anyway. We want to stay on site. And even with just two of us, when I've done the math, it always makes sense to stay in the Express Pass hotel as opposed to one of the others that doesn't offer it. So I'm really excited to tell you guys about this and get you thinking about it too, because I think a lot of people probably see what Express Pass is and they see the price and then they don't look any further. And using the hotel as sort of your hack is a really, really good way to take advantage of Express Pass without, totally breaking your budget. And especially if you have 3 or 4 people that are going to stay in the room and, you're splitting the cost, then it's really a good idea. So please take a look at those options. Like I said, I'll put links to the hotels in the show notes. I'll put my little kind of spreadsheet or something with the numbers there and links to anything else I think is going to be useful for you. And that's going to be over at goinform.net/33. And I think that's all I have to tell you about Express Pass today. I did talk a lot about it in the second episode of the podcast where I talked about where to stay when you visit Universal Orlando. And the first 7 episodes of the show are all kind of basics that take you from, the really basics, like what are the parks that are there, all the way to what to bring when you go to the parks and what to expect on your first day. And that's also where the park tours are. So if you are looking for more Universal Orlando tips and advice and just stuff to get you excited about your trip, then scroll all the way back to the very beginning of the podcast archives for the show, and you will see those episodes. And those are my first 7 episodes. So just keep that in mind when you're listening. But I hope that it will be helpful for you. Thank you, pass holders. Thank you, Go Inform pass holders, for sponsoring the show and being part of our community. Again, if anybody wants to find out more about that, you can go over to goinform.net/pass holders. And I will see you guys next time. And I hope you have a stellar vacation.